Well, Sylvia, you have a very impressive resume, which speaks of a history as a Russian linguist for U.S. Army intelligence, and now you're an award-winning #1 New York Times best-selling author. So how does one go from a career in military intelligence to one of the most beloved and successful romance authors around the globe?
Well, I think there's kind of maybe the thought that, I migrated or progressed from a military career to a writing career. When, actually I was 12 years old the first time I said I wanted to be a romance novelist. I wrote an essay for school about what I want to be when I grow up, and I said, I'm going to be a romance novelist. So, I actually consider the journey to publication, the journey to where I am right now, to have started at 12 and just kind of come in a straight line all the way through with, maybe some little sightseeing detours off the side where, I did different things, which includes, my time in the military. And those experiences add flavor to my novels.
Well, I love your novels, and I love romance and women's fiction.
Well,
Those are
thank
my favorites.
you. Thank you so much.
And I'm a huge fan. And it's been said that women's fiction is considered the new adult 10 years later. But it also says that, the media say that contemporary romance and women's fiction are becoming increasingly popular. So what emerging or current trends are you noticing in those genres, and especially in your writing?
Well, I mean, definitely we're seeing a, surge of new adult romances. And I think that's wonderful. I mean, a lot of the readers who read the Crossfire series actually categorize it as new adult because we're dealing with, a very young 20-something couple who's, first jobs, first love, a lot of firsts, first time on their own. So, that's really how you come into the series is based on, the view that you have when you come in. I mean, some people come into it and say, oh, this is, contemporary women's fiction. Some just say, it's contemporary fiction. Others say it's a romance novel. Others say it's an erotic romance novel. So, I mean, how you view the Crossfire series is based on your own viewpoint. And that's why, of course, we've sold over 10 million copies in 39 countries because everybody who comes into the series finds something different, a different appeal to it. In the overall industry, I mean, absolutely, we're seeing a lot of new adult fiction selling well. We're seeing a lot of contemporary women's fiction, selling really well. We're seeing contemporary romance making a resurgence, which is lovely because, of course, blogs for the last 4 or 5 years have said that contemporary romance is dead. Who's buying contemporary romance? So there's that, but we're also seeing we have new readers now. I mean, so many of the women who email me and talk to me say they haven't read a book since they left college, or they haven't read a book in the last 10 years. And then they picked up Crossfire, and then they just keep going. They just keep reading. So we're really seeing a whole demographic of non-reader suddenly becoming readers. And I mean, that's wonderful for all of us.
Well, I'm sure the Crossfire series had a lot to do with a lot of readers becoming readers just recently.
I mean, that's what they say. I mean, I really, honestly, there's a large number of readers who come to me and say that the only thing they've read in the last 10 years is the Crossfire books. So, I mean, that's hugely gratifying. And my answer to that is don't stop. Keep going.
Well, I hope to keep going, and I'm eager for the next 2 books. I love to entwine with you, and the Crossfire series is one of my favorite series of all time, and it's one of the biggest selling series in the world. So how has being the author of one of the most sought-out book series affected your life and your career, your writing career?
Career-wise, of course, it's huge. Books, book sales have been really on the decline for the last few years, as we know, where we're seeing a lot of bookstores shut down. So anytime you have a series that sells multi-million copies, I mean, everybody in the industry kind of sits up and takes notice. So there's that. There's a new level of respect and understanding in the industry because, of course, romance novelists don't always get that, right? I mean, it's not a genre that is really held up, in the literary world, commiserate with its sales volume because, of course, romance is 47% of the market. I mean, that's a huge chunk. So that, I mean, that's really different, and I love that, to a certain respect. On the other hand, I've been doing this for 10 years, so I can take it with a grain of salt. As far as, you know, readers and everyday interactions, I mean, that's really been a really big change. You know, I used to have two separate lives. I had my author life that I had when I was traveling and going to conferences and conventions, and then I had my everyday life, my home life, where I was just, you know, Jack's mom, you know, Shanna's mom. I mean, that's who I was, right? Now, you know, I go to McDonald's and I hear women at the table behind me talking about Gideon Cross. I, you know, go to the doctor's office, the lady behind the counter, the receptionist has a copy on the desk, or somebody's reading in the waiting room. You know, I go to Walmart and, you know, the gal in front of me in line has the books in her cart. I mean, there is no separation of those lives anymore. I mean, it's, you know, I'm always, you know, Sylvia Day, the writer of a series that, you know, many millions of people have read, and that took a little bit of adjusting to, but I seem to be the only one who has to adjust to it. My kids are just like, yeah, whatever, it's mom.
Well, kids will be kids. Gideon and Eva are truly my favorite all-time fictional characters, and especially Eva. She is so strong and gives as good as she gets. What were your inspirations or your muses for those characters?
Well, you know, Gideon really came to me fully formed. I mean, he really was who he is. So, you know, I write as fast as I can to keep up. Now, for Ava, I mean, really, all of my heroines have to be women that I can respect, women that I can admire, women that I want to spend time with and, you know, go shopping with and, you know, talk about boys with. And, you know, if I can't relate to my heroine on that sort of level, then it doesn't work for me. I mean, how can I spend months, you know, writing about somebody that I don't like or I can't respect? Ava, out of all of my heroines, really, I mean, she's got such a core of steel to her, and yet she remains so vulnerable that, you know, we sympathize with her, and you know, we don't mind that she's with Gideon. You know, if she was any less of a character, we'd probably resent her very much for being with our guy. But, you know, as it is, you know, we think, yeah, they're perfect for each other. She's good for him.
They are perfection. Now, you recently signed a 2-book deal with Cosmopolitan and Harlequin. So what can your readers expect from this series, from the Cosmo Red Hot series?
Well, overall for the series in general, I mean, we're talking about fun, fearless, cosmopolitan-type heroines with, you know, the dark and dangerous Harlequin hero. So, I mean, that's what you can expect overall. And we're talking about young, modern women who have, you know, ambition and great jobs, and, you know, finding a man in their life and having a romantic relationship is kind of just you know, an addition to an already great life. It's not the be-all, end-all, you know? So, I mean, that's what you see overall in the Cosmo Red Hot Reads from Harlequin series. In my particular story, as far as Afterburn and Aftershock, we're following one couple across the course of the 2 novellas. It's Gianna and Jackson. You know, Gianna lives in New York. The story is told from her perspective. So in that respect, you know, readers will feel a certain comfort level with it. You know, if you're coming from Crossfire and Afterburn, there's a familiarity there. That said, they're very different stories. Gianna is a very different heroine from Ava. She doesn't come into the relationship with the sort of baggage that Ava has. So, I mean, of course, she's got a completely different person. And, you know, she works in the restaurant industry, and she and Jackson tried to have a relationship before, and it didn't work out. So this is a second chance story for them.
Well, I look forward to it. Well, Sylvia, thank you so much for your time. I look forward to escaping into your imagination in the future, and I really appreciate you spending this time with your readers, your fans, and with me.
Well, thank you for having me. I mean, it's one of the things that I love about my job is being able to spend time talking with readers and answering questions. You know, you spend time with my books, and, you know, I want to spend time with you in return. So thank you very much.
Thank you.